please.
Awesome.
Okay, I'm gonna, share my screen, I hope.
For those that don't know, Dawn works for Creating a Family. She's
Yeah.
going to run our training tonight. And I'm the Deputy Director at Foster Family Alliance of North Carolina. My name's a little confusing because it sounds like we only serve foster families, but we do serve foster, kinship, and adoptive families. So that is why we're here. But I'm going to mute myself and let Dawn do all of the talking because she is the guru.
Oh dear. Hi, everybody. As she said, I'm Dawn Davenport. I'm the Executive Director of the nonprofit Creating a Family, and our mission is to strengthen foster, adoptive, and kinship families, as well as the professionals who support them. And we do what we do by creating expert-based and trauma-informed resources, community supports, and trainings. And what I'm going to show you is one of the things that we've recently launched. I hope y'all are all seeing my screen now. This first of all was based on 6 listening sessions that we did with Kinship caregivers, asking them what were their needs and how can we as an organization help them meet their needs. And I'm probably preaching to the choir with you guys, but the top needs that they identify were, one, understanding what their legal options were in relation to the child. The second one was, and these were all 3 kind of tied at first. The second one was what resources were available to help them. And then the third was they wanted support groups. So this one is addressing the first of those. Obviously, it's for understanding their legal options as relation to the child. This is embedded in our website. However, it has its own URL, which is nckinshipfamilies.org. It is completely mobile responsive because based on our surveys, the majority of kinship families will be accessing the website through either their phone or their tablet or the tablet their child was given from school. So it is completely mobile responsive. It was created with the aid of our Kinship Advisory Committee, and we also relied on and piloted it in front of or with a kinship support group and got their input as well. And we learned a lot from doing that, and a lot of the questions and things that we included were there because these were the questions that the kinship caregivers were asking us. So we knew that was important information for us to include. We also had a number of people from DHH, the North Carolina Department of Health and Human Services, which oversees kinship care, foster care, care for children and things. They reviewed it as well. We had a number of them reviewed it. So our first challenge was, this is anything in the minute you use the word legal, it gets complicated. And this topic is a complicated topic. So how do we take something that is complicated and make it easier at least to understand, or accessible, engaging, that type of thing. And because this is something that our organization does, which is create trainings, we know a lot about adult learning styles. So we use 3 different techniques, which I'm going to show you when I walk you through the site. So we use the 3 techniques to try to make it more accessible and understandable. One was we relied on videos. We used a lot of videos, and we used 3 different types of videos. One we call expert videos, meaning somebody who is knowledgeable about the topic. The second type of video was kinship caregivers themselves. They had either chosen this option or were in the process of choosing, and the things that were important to them and why they chose it and things like that, advantages and disadvantages. So, and then the last video we used was an animated video. And like I said, I'm going to show you an example of all those. Another technique we used was we included just pure audio interviews, sometimes with caregivers, sometimes with experts, because we know some people would prefer to learn that way, or at least would prefer to be able to listen to it while they're driving and stuff like that. And then the last thing we did to make it more understandable and accessible is use repetitive formatting, and I'll show you an example of that. So this is the site, and our what occurred to us very early on from our discussions with kinship caregivers was that a lot of times people who would be coming to the site don't know what they don't know. They don't know what they should be looking up. They don't even know oftentimes where they are, what they have. So it is, so our challenge was, so how do we lead them into finding the material that they want? So we're using a quiz, and I'm going to show you that in just a minute. However, we know that some kinship caregivers, some of you guys will know what you want to. We've also included an outline on every page. We also think a lot of kinship caregivers will be accessing this with a professional, with somebody from DSS or the GAL or whatever. And so those professionals could guide you. So we do include this outline on every page. Now, note that the resources that I'm showing you here and are on the site are divided between child welfare not involved and child welfare is involved, because your options are distinctly different depending on if child welfare is involved with the child. All right, now I'm going to take you back to the quiz. So my internet will be a little slow because I'm running a bunch of your videos over here. So the first question in the quiz is your grandchild or other relative's child, or Crystal, in your case, neighbor child, are they living with you? And we think most people who are going to come to this site are going to say yes. We did include no, because we do know some people are just worried about a child, and it connects to a map of North Carolina with each of the DSSs listed with their contact information. However, another big reason we included no is that a fair number of kin are in the situation where they find out that their grandchild or their niece is in foster care, not living with them, not living with kin, and they want to know what to do. So we included this where we have 8 tips of things you should do. We also have some videos of kinship caregivers who were in that situation talking about what they did. But like I said, we think most people are going to click yes on this one. So then the next question is child welfare involved? Originally, we thought this was a binary yes or no, but we found out when we were talking with kinship caregivers that in fact, it's clear. So we included an I'm not sure for that. So let's see, I clicked no, let me go back, and I did that too quickly. So let's start by saying no, child welfare is not involved. So that takes you to this, and these are the 3 most common scenarios of how somebody comes to caring for kin or a child who is close to them. 1, the child asked them to care for the child and is still involved in the care of the child. The second one is the parents asked them to care for a child, but is no longer involved in the care of the child. And the last one is, I took the child in because they weren't doing a job. I showed up and the baby, his diapers changed and the 3-year-old was in the trash. So I just put the kid in the car and took them home. So those are the 3 scenarios. Probably the most common one is this, that they were originally voluntarily placed with you, but then just didn't show up to pick them up, or just disappeared or whatever. So let's click on that one. Now keep in mind that right now we're in the child welfare not involved because I just clicked no. So that's this part of the outline up here where we are. So the next question is, do you have anything in writing signed by the parents giving you authority or permission to make decisions for this child? And if you could answer either one, it's going to eventually get here. You have an informal agreement if you have nothing. And at a minimum, we want to encourage you to get a power of attorney. So the next question is, do you know where the parents are, and can you get them to sign something giving you permission to make a decision for the child? And if you answer yes, then this takes you to a page that gives you a brief explanation of the power of attorney. And then if you click on this, it takes you to a page with a lot more information. And that would be the same, by the way, as if you just clicked right over here under power of attorney. So I'm going to use this page as an example to show you the ideas of the repetitive format and the videos that we use. All right, so at the top of every page, and the format I'm showing you right now is the very same that we use for everything over here on the right. So once you kind of get the feel for how it plays out in this page, all the other pages will be similar. So we start with an expert video, and that's just this. It's an attorney who practices in this area. I'll let you.
A power of attorney for minor is a written document.
I'll stop him. But anyway, we start with the expert video, so you can listen to him explain what it is. Then we follow it by a simplified explanation in writing. And then we follow it by a lived experience video. This is someone who had to get a power of attorney, and she talked about how she, excuse me, guys, it's allergy season here. She talked about how she got her daughter to agree to it and things like that. And then these three sections are the same for everything over here. The first is, what can this option do for you? Does it give you authority to make decisions about, and this is, we're talking power of attorney, medical, parental visitation, enrolling the child in school, IEPs, things like that, educational decisions, and can you make decisions about what's going to happen to the child if you die? Then the second section, and if you click on these, it answers that question. Sometimes it just answers it right here. If there's more information you need, we link to a tip sheet. And if you click on that, it takes you to a tip sheet that gives you more information and more links to the specific things you would need in order to use that. All right. Then down here, we have what financial support is available if you have this option. In this case, it's power of attorney. Excuse me. And you could click on any of these and it would tell you what you needed to know about, do you have the ability to get, in this case, child care assistance for the child. And then these are just additional questions that Kinship caregivers have asked about, this option. So we have all those down here as well. Can you claim the child in your taxes? What type of healthcare services are available? Things like that. Then we have a section on advantages with having, in this case, whatever it is, in this case, it's power of attorney. And then we have a section on tips for getting a power of attorney. And that's an example of our animated video. We start with an animated video, and then all the tips can also be downloaded, because we know a lot of people would prefer to just read it rather than watch it. I'll show you the animated video, but I'm just going to jump around.
Tips for obtaining a power of attorney. Power of attorney does not guarantee that medical and educational professionals will recognize your authority to make decisions for a child, but it definitely First tip is to get a power of attorney signed as soon as possible once the child comes to live with you. It will be easier to agree on things and get signatures if the relations with the child's parents.
All right, that gives you an example. Those same tips can be downloaded here. In this particular case, we actually have a power of attorney template that is specific to Kinship caregivers. So if you wanted to use the template, you could download this and fill it out with the child's parents. And then we have another grandparent talking about her experience and things she needed. All right, now I'm going to take you back to the quiz and answer it a different way. Yes, the child is living with you. This time, rather than saying no, let's say that yes, child welfare is involved. So the next question, it says DSS taking custody of the child. Again, now we've also included the I'm not sure, because it truly isn't always clear, because DSS has to take legal custody, even though after you would actually have physical custody. So let's say DSS, we say yes, they have custody of the child. Then your choices are to become a licensed foster parent or care for the child, but not become licensed. And you could click on either of these. This is taking, now we're down here, child welfare is involved, and this is clicking on becoming a license or becoming without. In this case, I will click on becoming a license. Then we have a brief explanation. And then if you click on that, it'll take you to give you a lot more information. And then we have the repetitive formatting. We have the expert video, simplified explanation following it, lived experience of somebody who made the decision at first reluctantly, but it turned out she was very thankful she did, but she made the decision to become a foster parent, and she talks about why she was hesitant and why it turned out to be a good thing for her. We have the advantages and the disadvantages of becoming licensed. And then we have tips for doing it quickly. What's the process? And then what happens if the child is able to go home? That's the original goal, is we want to reunify. That's not always possible. So we start with a expert video. Oops, here she goes.
When DSS gets involved and takes custody of a child, we certainly do not want children growing up in foster care.
So I'll stop her, then a simplified explanation. And then these are your 4 options for permanency if the parents are not going to be able to regain custody. Well, it's actually 3. Regaining custody is the one we always go for, but if that's not possible, then we have these options. And then you could click on any of these and it will take you to the options which are down here. Again, expert video, followed by a simplified explanation, followed by a lived experience, followed by the what can this option, if you have guardianship, what authority do you have to make decisions for the child? What financial support is available for you? And these additional questions that you may want to have answered. Advantages and disadvantages of guardianship versus adoption is included. And then tips. And then we often will link to other things down here. Tips for if you have to show up in court, tips for that. These are some of the options. These are some of the benefits that are available to you as a guardian. So wanted to take you now to the section called Making a Decision, because in many ways, this is kind of the heart of the site, because up here in this part of the outline, we've given you a lot of information, but we realized that we really, to make this truly useful, we needed to distill it to make it more helpful for somebody who can be overwhelmed by their choices, which is most of us. So we partnered with Dr. Joseph Crumley for this section, and I'll play you a little bit of him.
It's not always clear why relative caregivers make different decisions about permanent.
So we expert video followed by a simplified explanation. This section is just another video with Dr. Crumley, the questions you need to ask yourself when you're making this decision. And then here's a simplified explanation of what he said there. And here's a caregiver talking about the process of making a decision.
It's hard to feel like you have to choose your grandchildren over. It's a decision that had to be made. It was hard. It's still hard.
And this is another video with Dr. Crumley. This takes you down to the section of, so what is the right choice? Again, we have an expert video about why you need to have some type of legal relationship. And then we divide the section for is child welfare is not involved, and then down here, child welfare is involved. So if you click on any of these things, it will take you to, this is the same for all of them. It will take you to a section where first at the top, you're going to have an expert video. And then we have a civil court custody. This is child welfare is not involved. The most appropriate choice for you if you answer yes to these questions. And then we list questions here for you to ask yourself and say, okay, if I answer, the child will be living with you for the foreseeable future. Child's parents are either not around or unable to make decisions. Things like that, that would lead you to think that this would be a good option for you. And the same, this is child welfare is involved. Let's say you click on adoption, it would take you to someone who lived experience of someone who chose adoption and much child welfare was involved. And the same thing, adoption is the most appropriate choice for you if you answer yes to these questions. And here's another lived experience of somebody who made that decision. And the last thing I want to show you before I open it up to questions is, oops, I clicked on the wrong thing. finding an attorney, because we get that question so often, and I think that this is a really helpful resource. So at the very top, we just talk about what attorneys can do for you, and then we divide it between child welfare not involved and child welfare is involved. So what your options are for attorneys right there. Then we talk about, do you need an attorney? How to find one who specializes in family law, because we don't want you going to your hairdresser's your cousin twice removed who is a real estate attorney, because they really won't be of much help to you. And then what to do if you can't afford an attorney. You have a couple of options. There are ways you can work with a family law attorney at reduced cost. You could consider mediation. You could consider representing yourself, it's called pro se, or you can go to free or low cost legal services. And as far as we know, these are all the free or low cost options for family law in North Carolina. And if you click on it, it will take you down here and will tell you what it is, what area of the state it serves, and then take you directly to their site with their contact information. And so any of these you can do. It gives you the information, what counties they serve, and if we have a phone number, the phone number goes there. But we've also included a map for people like me who really much prefer maps. And if you click on any of these, it will tell you what services are in the area, what counties they serve, and their contact information. So let me stop now and see if we have any questions. And then we can, then I'm going to open it up to see if anybody's got things that specific questions they have about their situation or how to use the website or anything along those lines. And you can unmute yourself and just ask, or you could put it in the chat, but Kate will have to check the chat. Thank you, Kate. But feel free just to unmute yourself and ask the question. So I answered everyone's questions, huh?
No. I just had to find, like, where do I unmute? My daughter was helping me with this. I'm sorry. I'm like, unmute. Is anyone else here in a kinship situation where now you're being told that they're talking about guardianship and you're real confused about all of it? Because I am.
Okay, so let's go through this. Let's just go through the quiz with her, and you answer, and we'll see where we are. Is this child living with you?
Yes.
Is child welfare involved?
Yes.
Excuse me, guys. I really apologize.
I'm sorry. No, that tickle is awful.
It's the yellow season here.
Yeah.
It's just dripping yellow outside. Has DSS taken custody of the child?
No,
No, they've not. Okay.
they've not.
How are they involved?
Well, I mean, that's not abundantly clear to me because one parent was a minor until last weekend. And so my understanding is that the parents haven't complied with all the things that they needed to do. So they went ahead and put in for a petition.
They did
DSS
put in for a petition. Okay.
has put in a request for their attorney to draft a petition. They just got the petition today. So the social worker reviews it and her supervisor reviews it. They're going to make a few changes apparently, and then they will file it, and then we will all go to court. But the only way they said that DSS would take custody of the child is if mom, because dad is very agreeable to all of this and mom is not. And if mom doesn't, if she decides for some reason she wants the child taken out of our care just because she's angry, then they will take custody of him, and then they will move forward with guardianship with them having custody. And I'm not, I feel like I'm flying by the seat of my pants most days. I'm like, what are we doing?
Okay,
Who
it
are
sounds
you?
to me, okay, when they say they're going to file for, first of all, I am not giving legal advice, okay?
No.
Let me be clear with that.
No,
Okay, it sounds like when they're filing a petition, that petition means they're going to take custody. but they haven't done it, but they're planning on doing it. So,
Oh, I thought it was just kind of an agreeable thing that parents are in agreement that we will be the guardians because they haven't been able to do anything. I thought we were all in agreement,
well, it's
but I
possible.
don't know the jargon.
Yeah. And so I'll give you a couple scenarios. One, and
They've already
Natasha,
made us
you
the
could,
temporary person.
they have made you the temporary custodian. All
Safety,
right.
yeah.
So it's possible, and I will also defer to Natasha at some point if she wants. She's hiding her head. No, I really don't want.
Oh no, she's been to my house. She's met us all. We know Natasha. Hi, Natasha.
Okay, good. Then, okay, it's possible you are in a temporary parental safety agreement, and that is a voluntary thing where the parents ask you to care for the child, and while DSS is investigating their home, trying to
Here
decide.
comes everyone. Sorry, hang on.
Oh, that's fine. Trying to decide if there is a safety issue or what, and if it can be resolved or not. But that is supposed to be temporary, and they're supposed to, and it sounds like it is in your case. And it sounds like the next step sounds like that they're going to filing a petition that's with the court. And when it's filed with the court, then they have legal custody. And what they will generally do is work with, in this case, it sounds like the mom primarily, with her, she will have a list of things that she needs to do in order to regain custody.
Hi.
And so
It's crazy here.
that's totally all right. So she'll have a list of things while they have custody. She's going to be given things like she has to find a job. She has to have a place to live. She needs to take parenting classes. She needs to get sober and that type of thing. So she will have that, and they will be working with her in order to try to get her to be able to get her act together to be able to parent. In the meantime, they have legal custody. And since you are caring for him, chances are good you will be given this choice, whether to become a licensed foster parent or to care for him without becoming a licensed foster parent. And there are a lot, and this is where I would encourage you to go to this website, nckinshipfamilies.org, get here, and then click on it, becoming a licensed foster parent, or if you get lost, just come over here and click on it, becoming a licensed foster parent. And then listen to the expert, read this, listen to Tracy, and then pay attention to the advantages and disadvantages. There are substantial advantages to you and to the child if you are licensed. There are some disadvantages too. So you would want to read over those and see, which one fits you best. You can see what this process is, and they will give you tips if you want to do it quickly. And the reasons you may want to do it quickly is because you start getting financial assistance. And so for those reasons, if you want to do it quickly, this is tips for doing that. If they take custody, they will work with the mom usually for a while, or both parents, for a while. But at some point, if the mom is not able, or the parents are not able to work the plan that's been laid out, not able to become a safe home for this child, then they would come to you and ask you about would you be willing to be a permanent placement for the child? And these are your options for that. And you should really check both of these read carefully both of these before you make the decision, because there are advantages and disadvantages to any of the choices. Did that help you somewhat to answer?
I'm sorry. My internet or the thing disconnected. I don't know. And my daughter is like, I want to join it. We have an adult daughter who's our support person, and she wanted to join the meeting also. She has actually just almost completed her MAP training to become a licensed foster care provider. We're in our 50s and he's 2. And part of me feels like if this continues, we need to have a safety net down the road, because by the time he's college age, we would be in our 70s. And I don't know, what will be going on or will be doing. So we also have our daughter who's 23. She is becoming licensed. She's a nurse, and she would very much like to go through that process. But I'm really confused by the guardianship thing. And so from the sounds of what, if I gathered correctly, what you're saying is that if mom complies and meets all of these things, then the guardianship paperwork, the petition will be revoked or rescinded, and then we start all over again with visits and her trying to take custody of him. What happens then?
So,
Well, I'm not sure I
Mom?
understand. Natasha, yes, please.
Okay, so so with the situation of guardianship, what the department is trying to do is they are trying to get mom and dad to agree to guardianship with you. So if that occurs, then that would be kind of that point where Dawn pointed at, you're able to have communication with parents, and so they're trying to get that to happen. Now, if mom is not willing, then they would try to do custody. So if both parents agree to guardianship, then that's going to become what we call our primary plan, our primary permanency plan, and that would really be the avenue that you would go down there. And so on here, you would be looking for guardianship. If we do have to take custody, then mom would have her time frame that she'd be able to work. Dad, I know we've talked about it numerous times, has maintained that he doesn't feel like he's able to, so he could just keep stating that, or he could attempt to work a case plan. But if it goes to custody, then the primary plan is reunification, and the secondary plan becomes the guardianship. So it's you guys can still pursue guardianship, but DSS, the Department of Health and Human Services, is going to have to seek after reunification if we take custody. Wow. Yeah. Okay.
Natasha, are there some advantages? Are there advantages to well, they wouldn't be eligible for a kin gap anyway because he's too young. So never mind. Sorry.
Right. Now I can say, and I know that there's from all over the state in here, so I'm saying this for Buncombe County specifically because I don't want other county workers to get angry with me. But Crystal, so for you and potentially for your daughter that you were talking about with Buncombe County, we thankfully have got things set up. We have a kinship stipend that is for caregivers after they finish training, between the training time and the time that they get licensed. We have where we can either get our kinship families to agencies, or me and a coworker are periodically training the caring for our own. So there is benefits, I can say, to going down that avenue of getting licensed in Buncombe County, even though there's not, like after guardianship is provided, there's not a lot of aftercare, I guess I would say. But in that between time while we are involved, we do help out with the stipend and once you get board payments.
It's exactly right. And not every county does it, but every county, once you become licensed, will start giving you this called board payment subsidy. It's monetary payments every month. So yeah, thank you, Natasha. It helped a lot.
No.
Does anybody else have questions?
Oh, hang on.
I'm kind of curious with the guardianship versus foster parenting. So yeah, there's a foster parenting stipend. In our area, it's $600 depending on if the child's therapeutic, etc. But for my niece, who my parents raised, they chose not to get foster parenting and such because they were able to receive child support as they raised
Mhm.
her. So
Yeah,
is
so
there,
that
you know,
makes it,
yeah,
yeah.
I guess you have to weigh
That's a
out
good
what are
point.
your options and what can you afford,
That
right?
that happens less, exactly right. You're spot on. It happens uh, less often because most often the parents are not able to pay child support. But it's in your case, they could. And so you absolutely would have to weigh that. So yeah, it's a very good point that you raised. And I take it for your parents, the child DSS did have custody. And then they, after DSS had custody, then were the parents ever able to reunify, or did your parents end up raising their niece or your niece?
They raised her from the time she was 2 years old is when they officially got custody, guardianship custody. And they raised her until she was an adult.
Yeah.
Or, well, until she chose it. I think it was 15 to move in with her dad. But even
Okay.
that,
Yeah,
goes
but they
to
had
DSS
custody.
when she made that choice. Yeah, they maintained custody of her.
They had guardianship. Okay. Yeah, and that was one of the
Guardianship.
two that are usually, if they can't reunify, the two that are usually looked at are guardianship or adoption. So if reunification is always the first, but often that's not the case. Yeah, thanks for sharing. Does anyone else have questions?
So I feel like I come from a place where in my two cases, DSS has called me and said, "Hey, we need somewhere for this child," and there is just not a lot of support. And when that happens, and you're just kind of thrown into this fire, and you're like, "Oh God, well, yes, of course," but then, and I don't know if it's county to county or if this is just a statewide problem, but there's not a list of rules or a list of organizations that we can reach out to for help. Yeah, so
Yeah, you're right. So Lisa, in your case, did DSS take custody of the child? Legal custody?
DSS currently has custody and they're considered the guardians. I am one of the workers keeps calling me a foster parent, but I don't have I kind of got in trouble, if you will, not in trouble, but for trying to get medical records because I'm trying to get the boy get some assessments and things going. And so, you need medical histories and such. So
And
I didn't
because they're the
realize that was
guardian,
a rule. Huh?
and because they're the guardians, they would be the ones who, they should have done that. Is that what they're telling you?
Yes. And they were saying,
Yeah.
"Hey, don't ask for medical records anymore. That's our job. You're not allowed to do that." And I'm like, well, okay. I've been taking them to the doctor and get the medical records every time. But then this happened and I was like, there is no list of rules, like rules to follow, I guess, as well as like I said, organizations, both monetary support, medical support. I've been having to go search it. And in my particular case, I have a child who's very therapeutic and undiagnosed.
Well, that's hard. Were you given the option of becoming a licensed foster parent, or it sounds like you're currently caring for the child.
Well,
Having-
I'm in the foster parenting classes right now. Yeah, so it was something I was pursuing on my own anyway, because I was going to there's no therapeutic respite caregivers in our area, and so I was going to be a babysitter, if you will, respite. And then this happened. But I've also been advised to be cautious of continuing that course because if I get my foster parenting license, then that takes me out of the realm of being able to garnish child support.
Well, Tasha, again, feel free to jump in. That's probably true. However, because the state technically would be the ones who would be getting the child support. However, you would also be getting a subsidy payment, a board payment every month. And usually, it depends, of course, on the situation, whether the parents can pay. And if the parents have a fair amount of money, then you may be better off getting child support. But almost always, in my experience, what they could pay is going to be very small. And you would be able to get, if you became licensed, you could get the board payment, the monthly payment. You would have to weigh that, because I think that's probably correct. Natasha, if the state has custody, the child support goes to but the state already has custody, I think. So that you wouldn't be able to get the child support anyway.
Well, so far it's been
Yeah.
8 weeks and I have zero financial support. And I luckily I had to get a job and they're able to work with my hours while he's in school, but that's not going to be going on much longer. So I'm trying to weigh what is best, and financially, what can I do? Because again, he can't just be by himself. He's a one-on-one.
Yeah. So this is Natasha. So I like Dawn was saying, a lot of times, even if parents do have a decent income, state board payments, the payment that you receive for being a licensed home, I really doubt that child support would be more than those payments, because a lot of times parents, even if they have, like I said, a decent income, they might still be set at, like $50 a month or something like that. And so a board payment from the state is going to be significantly more than that. So getting licensed is a lengthy process, but I mean, I tell anybody that is able to do it that it's worth it, because financially it helps out a lot.
And it's not just financial. You would also have a person like Natasha to ask questions. It's kind of like a guide through the system. And that's very helpful. I mean, then, you say, you don't feel like you're so alone. You have somebody you could say, well, this child needs to be assessed. He's really struggling. I know kids, and I'm pretty sure this one's got ADHD. We need to have him assessed. And then you have somebody who can work with you and help you. You get a lot of help as a licensed foster parent.
And sorry, I was just thinking of some of the other stuff that you were mentioning, Lisa. A lot of counties, and I'm not trying to get the county that you're with in trouble, but a lot of counties have or are supposed to have kinship resource books, or like foster parent handbooks that they have that go over things like this, that are supposed to be a guide, just like this site is, and should list things for your county. Again, it should be there. So and then I also know that there's the hotline that has opened up. Kate, I don't know, like if you want to mention that and stuff, but there's the hotline that's opened up that kind of runs as similar to a 211 that you can reach out to and call about resources. So
yeah, I was actually just pulling up that phone number right now. I can put it in the chat, but we have a Kinship Navigator line that you can call for support. Also, FFA has some resources and connections to other nonprofits that support kinship families, especially like while you're not licensed and in the process of getting licensed. It may not be exactly what you're looking for, but there are some other options out there. So I'll drop FFA's website and then that Kinship Navigator support line that you can call as well. But
let me ask a quick question. Lisa, what county are you in?
I prefer not to say right now because I don't want to get anybody in trouble.
No, that's
Understandable.
smart. No. Okay, well, yeah, totally understandable. Let me share with you, I gotta unblur my screen. I think this is what Kate was going to say, but this is only available for, I'm going to hold it up. I think it's only available for Buncombe, Pennsylvania, and Henderson County. In the future, it might be, right now, it's only available for a support line. But if you happen to be, and Crystal, I think you are in this county, we'll have, it's 866 Love for Kin. And we also will have support groups for people who are raising fictive kin, as Crystal is, but also for, grandparents and aunts and uncles. And just to get together with others who are kind of in the same boat, and you can ask questions. And so anyway, keep that in mind. I don't know, Lisa, that will help you. And I don't know of any
That sounds
other.
great. Even if I'm in that area, I might just stop by a different Department of Social Service to see what pamphlets and things like you just showed that would be available to me.
Perfect. All right, good deal. Anybody else? Well, all right. Thank you guys so much for joining us tonight. And the website is nckinshipfamilies.org. Please spread the word. We want anybody and everybody. And if you've got questions and you work through the quiz, and you can check out the Making the Decision page. I realize that this whole subject is really it's very complex. I do get that. But we hope that this is making it a little easier for you. So thank you.
Very informative. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I think that this is, sorry, I have a little one trying to get into the room, but I think that that's wonderful. All of those things are just so great. And I'm like, oh, you click and it takes you to the next thing. It's beautiful. Very well done.
Thank you.
Thank you guys. And thank you for the opportunity for people to come in and you navigate through it and stuff. Thank you guys. He's going to start banging again, so I'm going to let you go. It's good to see you too, Crystal and Kate and Dawn. Thank you so much.
Bye, Natasha.
Bye.
All right. Thank you, everybody. And so again, nckinshipfamilies.org. Thank you so much.